Oh, I'm still not here. Court will now reconvene for the trial of Miss Lana Sky. Evident come back. Great. Allow me to call the next witness to the stand. Officer in charge of the guarding the evidence room the day of the crime. Witness, please state your name and occupation. Me, partner, I'm just a man same as you, wandering the trials of civilization. Occasionally helping the elderly across intersections when needed. Oh, I know, you're a patrolman. As for my name, I'll listen, and hard enough you can hear the howling wind calling out. To be exact, it's just Jake Marshall, Your Honor. Howling wind, I've never heard Edgeworth described that way before. Now, Mr. Marshall, let me ask you something. You were in charge regarding the evidence room on the day the crime took place. Is this correct? According to the papers, partner? What do you mean? A desperado's soul is as boundless as the desert sands. No paper can sum it. And maybe it's best we get on with this quickly. Please share with us your testimony the day of the crime. In English. My job was to keep a wary eye on the bone orchard. And they said I was supposed to make rounds 3 times a day, but that ain't my style. Besides, the room's protected by two security systems anyway. If I remember right, I was at the street side saloon at the time it went down. I'm just an innocent traveling man, so if you're out of ammo, it's time I hit the trail. Well, I can't say I particularly care for your attitude. I can't say I care for your beard, but you don't see me complaining. Wait a minute, what do you mean by 2 security systems? I mean the security cameras and the ID card reader. I reckon every cowpoke like you knows about those. Yeah, well, what about the fingerprint activated locks inside the evidence room? Fingerprint activated locks? What kind of newfangled doohickey are those? He's not even being very He's not that good with machines or with following orders. Everyone's got their weaknesses now, don't they, Mr. Prosecutor? This one seems like trouble. When has there been a guy that came up that was in trouble? Mr. Wright, he's all yours. Alright, so I'm just gonna say, I'm gonna present the fingerprint or whatever. Besides our own protected by security systems, if I remember right, here we go. Which one was it though? Here we go. Officer Marshall, doesn't it strike you as odd? That is, you being called in to testify like this. After all, you weren't in the security room at the time of the crime. And yet you dragged me down here. Explain yourself, partner. It's quite simple. You left a very large trail behind at the scene. Or to be exact, a handprint. Listen real good, partner. Like I said, I'm the caretaker of the crypt. I pay my respects, that is, make my rounds about once a month. It's only natural my fingerprints would be in there. I only wish it were, officer. But you see, your fingerprints are covered in blood. Witness, what's the meaning of this? Your blood-stained fingerprints were at the crime scene? The blood was wiped away, however. A luminal test clearly revealed this. Well, Officer Marshall, it seems to me there ain't a person in this room with a head on his shoulders. I take you have an explanation then, Officer Marshall, about the blood-stained fingerprints. You may begin your testimony about your fingerprints. Found out the scene of the crime. Is it gonna be like the cactus? The top of the cactus is out. Is that where you like started bleeding? Like I said, it's only natural for my fingerprints to be in the evidence room. Only one of them just happened to be at the same place that the bloodstain handprint. The murderer touched the blocker where my fingerprint was by chance. The bloodstain and that fingerprint are completely unrelated. Or didn't either of the murderer was wearing gloves? See, had nothing to do with it. Ah, boy. I witness explaining his pure valid, although there's room for doubts. Life wouldn't be fun with any doubt partner. Defense may now cross-examine the witness. The guy's hiding something, he can feel it. Now's my chance to prove it. Alright, I'm gonna just press him on everything again. Press! That's because how did you put it? Pay your respects once a month? Yeah, that's right. And one more thing. That locker happened to be mine. What? What do you mean? I mean what I said. Now, the locker I used when I was a detective, the locker I still use. All that's in there now, though, is a heap of broken dreams. I see. It'd be strange if my prints weren't all over that locker. Apparently his fingerprints data was never changed. He must have been using the fingerprint lock without even knowing it. Can I look at that again? What? Found him, locker. Why'd you wipe it though? So then, what about the bloody handprints? Wasn't mine, it's no mystery. Please explain. My locker's covered with fingerprints, it just happened. Alright. Chances of that happening are 1,000,000 to 1. On the contrary, one could argue just the opposite. Chances of that not happening are 1,000,000 to 1. Get one thing straight, partner, you ain't gonna get no reward from me with a mere fingerprint. You wanna know why? Bloodstain and the fingerprint are completely unrelated. Unrelated? They're as different as night and day. Kinda like cereal and cereal. One's gotta do with breakfast, the other's type of murder. He's right, although seemingly alike, they're totally different. I don't see the homonym has to do with this. Alright, you know the murderer was wearing gloves. How did you know that? I may be a loner, but I still do my job to keep up the reports. There's a blood stain at the scene of a scene thought to be left by the murderer. That's right, we tried to check it out. It was found on Detective Gumshoe's locker. However, no fingerprints were detected on that handprints. I think we tried that too. So that would mean the murderer wearing gloves happened to place his hand on top of the officer marshal's fingerprint. That's the only logical conclusion. Are you starting to get the picture, partner? The picture. The seal of the blood in the desert. It's just food for the buzzards. There is only one reality, and that's this. So long as my trail isn't there, you can't say otherwise. This isn't getting us anywhere. Please consider carefully where you're going with this cross-examination. Now then, continue your testimony, Officer Marshall. Oh boy. Too bad it wasn't me in this video, right, partner? What if it was, though? What do you mean by that? You can't, you want to tie me to this crime, isn't that right, partner? If so, the video is the only direct evidence you have. But that video is next to useless, it's full of blind spots. Places you can't see. The camera's panning back and forth, the floor isn't shown. There's someone's familiar with the camera's position. You can leave the room without being caught on tape. We don't have time for your speculation, Mr. Wright. If you can show us evidence in this videotape that indicates Officer Marshall was present, please do so now. Yeah, sure. Alright, well, allow me to point out your mistake, Officer Marshall. Tread carefully, Mr. Wright, or you might wind up being the one making the mistake. Let's have another look at the video. Alright. And if you spotted it right there, you could see what happened and why there's evidence showing that he was there. Another view on that side. Maybe if you could point it down. Get one more look on this side just to prove that he was. Just look carefully. Remember the positions of everything. What's there and what's not. Just what's there, I guess. Alright, let's see what's there now. Nothing. Alright, nothing there. And same old, same old. Last one. And then we pan to the left one final time. And then... What's that? What's that? What's that on your locker? Bringing out attention back to the security camera is a mistake I'm afraid you'll soon not forget, Officer Marshall. Days are short in Texas and so are our tempers. Could you sum up what you'd say in 8 words or less? Very well. You can clearly be seen in this video. Ooh, 8 words exactly. Not bad, partner. The key lies in a certain locker shown in the video. See this locker that has a white cloth and sticking out? And this is the witness's locker. Now then, let's rewind the video a bit. And we're talking about like, oh, the white cloth is gone. We're just talking about how like Goodman isn't in the video anymore after Meekins passes out. We would have seen him walk out, right? Unless he knew the positioning of the cameras. I was living in this, Officer Marshall. When the crime took place, the white cloth wasn't there. It suddenly appeared. There's only one explanation. Officer Marshall, you were in the evidence room at the time of the crime. What's more, you opened your locker when the camera was turned away. Order, order, it would seem that only... Hold your horses, sorry partner, but you got the wrong man. So what if my locker was opened? Doesn't mean I'm the one who opened. Yes it is. The murderer needed to hide something, so he opened a locker and stuck it in. It's not my fault he happened to choose mine. Why is everyone staring at me like I'm a wanted man? This guy isn't just playing dumb. He really doesn't know. I hate to rain on your parade, but you're the only person who can open that particular locker. Oh yeah, I call you a bluff. You say open that locker, now prove it. I'm not doing fingerprint sensor. We talked about this earlier today. The locker can only be opened by the detectives they belong to. What kind of crazy talk is this? Well, Detective Yumshu did mention something about this. In any case, the locks aren't that obvious. There's even some people in the force that don't know about the fingerprint locks. Yeah. So, Sheriff, what do you have to say in 8 words or less? We call them Sheriff. Was that jerky? I only got one word for you, partner. No. Nice. Order, when you explain yourself. If this is a joke, that is the worst I've ever heard. I assure you this is no joke, Officer Marshall. Now then, please tell us what you were doing in the evidence room at the time of the crime. Oh boy. No, they please answer. What? What is he now? Bullfighter? Yeah, what? That's alright, Officer Marshall. I figured we can figure out the rest from here. We can. Have a look at these floor plans. There's no place for someone to hide in the evidence room. And Officer Meekins didn't see Officer Marshall. If that's so, then where was the witness? It seems Mr. Wright has an answer. I think we all could come to the same conclusion. Well then, let's hear it. We did actually see him on the camera. Where was Officer Marshall at the time of the crime? This has been a running theme for 3 trials now. Is it this? Wait. Yeah, victim. V for victim. Officer Marshall is standing right here. There, but that's where the Detective Goodman was. Correct, unless the man was a Detective Goodman. I believe the victim in the video is Officer Marshall. He was dressed up like Detective Goodman. Well, that's preposterous. Officer Meekins witnessed this detective at the crime scene. Once he saw that man's face, he'd know for sure. I thought that too. May I point out though that Officer Meekins did not know Detective Goodman. He also testified about the man's reaction when confronted. When I entered the evidence room, I asked him to show his cards, sir. Yes, and how did Detective Goodman respond? He suddenly pulled a knife out on me. Something about the officer's story puzzled me, yet the man had his ID card, why didn't he just show it? Yes, he would have needed it to enter the evidence room, so he must have been carrying it. The answer is simple, he couldn't show it. Because it didn't look like him. As you can see, Detective Goodman's picture is on his ID card. Oh, I get it. If he showed that, his cover would have been blown. Officer Meekins would have realized the man wasn't Detective Goodman. Do you have anything to say to this, Officer Marshall? You've got quite an imagination, partner. You got a term for that. It's called circumstantial evidence. He's still denying it. You have to do better than that to break a detective, unless you have hard evidence proving I dressed up as the victim. Oh boy, I can't say I particularly care for your uncooperative disposition. I can't say I care for your beard, but that again, huh? Oh, Mr. Wright, do you have any evidence, yeah, okay. Well, who am I kidding? I don't have anything like that. You can see the fear in your eyes, partner. Seems you're the one who couldn't take the desert heat. Ugh, that can't be happening. It's so obvious he's the one. What can I do? It looks like your lack of experience has finally been exposed. I'll pass on to you what someone told me when I was just starting out. When he'd run into a wall with no place to go, return to the basics. For me, that would be what Mia used to tell me. Try thinking outside the box. I shouldn't look for proof that Officer Marshall was in disguise, but rather I should look for evidence that came out because he was in a disguise. Why do you think this locker was opened in the first place? What do you mean? There's no reason for Officer Marshall to open his locker at the time of the crime, yet he did, despite the chance it might be discovered later as it has been. Which means he didn't originally plan to open his locker. According to the defense argument, Officer Drake Marshall dressed up as Detective Goodman at the time of the crime. Then after the crime was committed, he opened his own locker for some unknown reason. The fact that a white cloth is just sticking out of the locker seems to indicate that he opened in order to put a cloth inside. So, just what exactly is the piece of cloth? Probably part of his dress up cosplay, his cosplay, his cosplay of Detective Goodman. And perhaps the video is the key to all that unanswered. I don't have any evidence, so the video is my only shot. Alright, let's watch this video again. You know, for something that we thought was gonna have nothing for it, because of how many blind spots and nothing like really big at first. It's really showing really small details that point to one thing. Please show us why the witness had to open his locker. Do, 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 do. So we gotta find evidence on why he's the one in disguise. Dun, 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 dun. Like that. Oof, right there. Right. Maybe? He's gotta be there, because the next one he's like right there. His shoulder got hurt. For some reason he disguised himself as Detective Goodman. And entered the evidence room. I don't know what the reason was yet. However, something unexpected happens. Officer Meekins barged in on you. When asked to show your ID, you pulled a knife on him. However, Officer Meekins panicked, and the white coat you were wearing was soiled with blood. A bloody white coat. You couldn't just walk out like that, so you hid the coat in your locker. Not bad, huh, partner? Now then, Officer Marshall, are you ready to tell us the truth? Looks like I underestimated y'all. I hope you're happy now, Mr. Edgeworth. 2 years ago, if you're only half as persistent then as you were today, we all would have to be here now, would we? And Officer Marshall, tell the court what you did. All of it. Alright, it seems the time has come. He's gonna talk about SL9, isn't he? Maybe? I had to do it that day. I couldn't just stand by and let it die. I stole the detective's ID and dressed like him. I planned to take out the evidence. I wasn't expecting Officer Meekins. I knocked him out and managed to escape. I knew which areas wouldn't be caught on the camera. There wasn't any murder in the evidence room at 5:15. Ugh, that still doesn't help us with Lana's case. I'm gonna, There's one thing I still don't understand. Large quantities of blood traces were found on the floor of all the evidence room. If no one was murdered, then how could that be? Officer Meekins managed to cut his own hand. My guess is he's the owner. It looked like too much blood for that. You're right, it does. I had to do it that day. I couldn't just stand by and let it die. But what die? SL9? Do you even have to ask? Yeah, 2 years have passed since that case was closed. It was going to completely end with the transfer that day. Not if I have anything to do with it. That incident's not over. But what did you hope to accomplish by sneaking into the evidence room? When a case is closed, only the detective who was in charge of it can look through the evidence. I wanted to have a look at it myself one more time. No matter what the cost, I don't care what anyone says, partner, this case is mine. But Officer Marshall wasn't in charge of that investigation. Why does he care so much about it? That day was my last chance. That's why I stole the detective's ID and dressed him like him.